Hello, everyone. This is episode 13 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. Welcome to the show, sleepers. Thanks for being here. It is Monday. It is Monday night, and my son is asleep. I just got him to sleep. And so I thought I'd do this podcast real quick. Not real quick, however long it takes, Well, I mean, it's usually around 50, in fact, if you're listening right now or watching, chances are you know more than I. You know more than I, because when you watch something, it tells you, that. And now you know that before I don't know exactly how long, but you do. And and you also might know how long like you're in for, cuz sometimes I listen to a podcast. It's like all the way through. It's great. I'm busy doing something. This is super fun. And sometimes I'm like, well, let's just see what if I had like the best of both worlds. The best of both worlds. I said that like that. That doesn't make no. That does make sense. It kind of doesn't, because it's not like there's two worlds in this situation. I should fill you in on what's going on in my brain as I'm talking. So the two worlds in this situation would be like I kind of get to do everything myself and run my own show, but also have the technical abilities and time to like make a podcast of the full version, which is what you're getting, because that's all there's time to do. Someone wrote that one time. That's a famous quote. Like, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. And doesn't super apply here, because I could stop this podcast now, and some people might be like, "Thank you." No, I'm just playing that card of not humility. Humility. That's a fun. This is gonna be the word episode, I think. Humility. Humble. Does humble go to humility? Because how come it's not humility? Thanks for being so humble. You really lived a day so full of humility. Sometimes I think the English language is just what sounded right. They're like, this should be right, but it's not. Let's just change it. And I like that about that. I like that they had enough guts, Mr. English, whoever he is, to be like, we're not. It's probably more of a dictionary's job to be like, we're not gonna follow all the rules. Like, the whole point of the rules is to break them. I wonder if they knew that back then too. Like, if you're not breaking the rules, then you're not living. I don't think that's sick. I think it's more like, yeah, like that's one of them. Humble, humility. It should be humility, or it should be humble. Thank you for being so humble. I don't think. I think if you want people to be humble, then you got to make the words sound better, And I think humble sounds better. So they're like, you were really humble today. And I'm like, well, I don't ever want to do that again. That sounds like the worst thing I could be is humble. Oh, humble. Oh, wow. That sounds like a prophet. I don't know. I don't know if they spoke English back when they were prophets. Prophets? I feel like prophet would be a good, like, mascot, like a sports mascot. Now I'm getting into touchy subjects, I think. Another word that's like that is messages, right? Text messages, written messages. The word message has been around for as long as there's been speaking, I imagine. As long as there's been messages to leave, there's been the word messenger. No, that's what I was going to say. I don't know why it's called a messenger bag. It should be a messenger bag, right? Or like, who's carrying your message? The messenger. And like, we can't. You are officially my messenger. Well, I'm a grown up, so can you think of a real title for me? Messenger. That sounds dignant. That sounds dignant? That sounds dignified. That's the cold open. Yeah, as if we planned it. I'm sitting here in the studio / bathroom. I'm gonna cover up this part right here so it looks a little. I got a new thing in the studio today, which you can't really see. But I got a cool table to put the laptop and the mic on, and my feet get to go underneath it. I didn't even know this existed. It is. I'll get back to whatever. I feel like that was dismissive of the people that were interested in what I was saying, and I shouldn't have been so dismissive. I appreciate your interest, in the words I was saying. And I just think I can't remember. But it'll come back to me. But I got this cool table. It is it's a sitting, like you sit and then you can like have a I think it's like a laptop thing. But I think even before then, like my aunt was a public school teacher, now retired. I talked to her before. Great person. Happy. My son's favorite possible person right now, other than his mom, maybe. Grandma, grandpa too. He likes me. I'm sure he does. He says it. But like, we were visiting my parents recently, and I had to go to the dentist. Shout out to my dentist. I don't think he listens to the podcast. I don't judge if you're in my life and you don't listen. That's not, but if you did, I would say that Dr. Kozak is my favorite dentist. My other dentists were also my favorite at the time, but now Dr. Kozak is. I've only had good dentists. How lucky am I to only get really good dentists? Anyways, I had to go to the dentist, and Dr. Kozak would have been fine with look at me trying to, he doesn't need more business whenever I try to get an appointment. Maybe he does. I don't know. But he's pretty full. Who knows? Who knows what people's businesses are like? You might look at my schedule and be like, wow, he's working all the time. And then I look at it and I'm like, well, yeah. But I see where I want it to be. I am working a lot. Last week I was in Texas, and I like to go places. Sometimes I like to go to a place where travel is really easy. And then sometimes I like to go to a place where it's the worst place to travel that day. And I did that. I flew into Texas during the flood warnings, flood watches. Probably the worst place to travel to that day. My return home flight on Saturday out of Louisiana to Dallas was at 5:40 in the morning. And I got on it. And as a parent, I'm like, I'm doing this for my kids so I can go home and be there to take a nap for 5 hours before I see him. That was the plan. I was not going to go in on no sleep to being a dad. I was going to sleep for an extra, and it was like a cheaper flight. If I got a later flight, I get in at 10. No reason to judge my schedule. Not that anybody was. But like, you can't. It's not. You should sleep a little bit. So my flight was at 5. I got to Dallas at like 7 a.m. and my flight leaving was at 10. So I had a good layover then, and they just said that there was no crew. That's how much it sucks to fly out of Dallas during the rain that week. The crew was like, we're not doing, like, how does that, how do we just now know that there's a crew problem? Like we all got there and we were there, and then it wasn't even like a delay. It wasn't like we're waiting on the crew or there might be a crew. They're just like, yeah, there's no crew. We tricked you. They should have just said that. I wish that they couldn't say that. You can't, as a company, when you do something that's not good, you can't just be like, we tricked you. Like, because they did. Like, they had to have known at some point that there wasn't going to be a crew. Like, I would have loved to have slept in, but I didn't. I got on the early flight, and then I was just there. And the next flights were offered on Sunday, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I got the late night flight that I would have gotten if I got to sleep in. So I was just at the airport for 12 hours, which I don't complain about. Check out my reels on Instagram. I do love a good like airport time to myself, but or with Jack. I think it's cool being somewhere with a kid that you just have to be, where there is kind of a place for him to a little bit run around. In Dallas or any airport really has a spot for that. If you ever want to run in an airport, just run. And if someone tries to stop you, just be like, my plane, you could do that all day. You could literally, kids get away with, I've seen like adults try to do skateboards in the airport, and security doesn't like that. They're very anti Back to the Future, cool transportation. But little kids, they get a scooter that's connected to their suitcase, and they can scooter all day. Where's the line there? FAA, TSA, where is it? Show me the line. Tell me where it is. And then I can, because it's like this grown up who obviously knows how to skateboard, who's very much in control of their skateboard, who wants to skateboard to their gate. And in some airports, it's really far, and they can't do that. But a child can scooter along. I think I hear it now. I think I hear the line now that I say it. I think it's that the adult has to behave like an adult. And the kid rule is just like whatever gets in there. Whatever makes it easy on everybody. That's whatever gets the kid there. When I bought the suitcase for Jack, that wouldn't have been my idea. Which is why it's good he has two parents, you know? Like if I saw a suitcase just for my son, because I travel so much, that is just for him, and it's small because it's just for a kid. If I saw a suitcase that was just for a child, and he was like, and I was like, oh, I could buy that for my son, I'd be like, there is no way ever, ever, ever that I will, of my own ideas, of my own cognitive brain function, suggest, offer, think that it would be good to purchase this small suitcase for the child. That's, as a grown-up who travels all the time, I limit the amount of suitcases. My laptop is making some noise, and that's not what Macs are supposed to. You okay, buddy? You going to be okay? Good thing the iPhone has a good recorder. What is this? What is this? Sponsored by Apple? This is available on Apple Music. I think it is. This podcast is now. You can type it into Apple Podcasts, and this guy will come up in the picture, and then the episodes will be there. Isn't that crazy? I've been doing this for 12 shows, and they're already like, just get on there. It's not we just submitted it, but it feels cool. That's what's cool about my business, you know, is like you can do a thing. Maybe I can put this guy right here, and you'll be able to see him. No. Everybody who's watching the video might have seen this. Funny. I have the trophy that says Super Dad that I would like. I had shown before, and I was like, maybe it'll fit right here. I think I got get a little thing for it to stand on, which is ironic that a trophy that looks like a superhero, I have to hold or put on something. Like he should just be able to fly. That's why I love being a dad. I play too much. I wonder if the trophy has like a cape. I wonder if that cape came with it or they had to purchase it. I probably came with it. Anyway, back to the thing. I think it's cool that in this business, I can have a thing that looks like it's successful. Last week's podcast was after a flight, and I'm trying to figure out the sound, and I got some notes about how I shouldn't. And I think it's better now, though. I think I figured out the sitting situation and the sound situation. But the trophy viewing is not available anymore, which I think is okay. I don't think I could ever I would never throw away my Super Dad trophy, but I have a lot of trophies from my childhood, and I tried to throw them away because a comedian, Taylor Tomlinson, tweeted about how good it felt to like throw away her childhood trophies. And this is before she was like huge. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to throw away my childhood trophies. And I couldn't. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like I might want to look at them at some point. There might be a point in my life where I say how comfortable I was, but then I just moved a little bit. I feel like there might be a point in my life where something's going down, and maybe it'll be a good point where they're like, wow, look how far I've come, look where I've been. Or maybe it'll be like, man, can anything go right? And I might want to go in there and look at my First Midwest Bank T-Ball Pirates runner-up championship trophy. We lost to the White Sox. Maybe I might want to look at that, you know, to be like, if I can do this, if I can bat, I think I batted second on a runner-up T-ball team at age 7. I was 7 playing at an 8-year-old level. That's what it's like to have a birthday in the summer. You get to play with the older kids. That's not even the best trophy I have. If we're going to go into my trophies right now, which this isn't the trophy episode, but we'll do it. I'll do it. I will talk about my most special. So when I was 12, oh man, I was listening to the episode last week, and I was like, I had also done the episode in my defense, but I was like, I think I'm just talking. I don't think it's a podcast. This is just me talk. There's an episode of freaks, and I feel like if this episode was like written out, there would be like where it started, and then be like lots of lines everywhere that never got. It's like a Christopher Nolan movie if he didn't have to make it as amazing, good at all. It's just like all over. There's no, but it'll come back. I think it comes back. I believe. I can say I believe. Sometimes when you say you believe in something, you've never believed less. Isn't that crazy? I think that's crazy. That like, if I'm telling myself I believe something, there's a reason why I'm telling myself. It's because I don't believe in it. Like when I was at the airport, for sure, bringing back that. At the airport for 12 hours or whatever, and you're happy and having fun stuff, but it's like, this is tired. I would say I would say to myself, because I heard it's healthy, to like find out where you are and try to be more positive. So I was like, I'll be okay. This will be okay. And then I was like, I think this is making it worse, because it's like I wasn't even thinking about how okay I was until now. I'm just like, well, maybe I'm not, Because it's like, here's the thing: when I have an early flight and I work at night, I don't sleep, and so I plan on the airplane to sleep. And then when you don't get that airplane sleep, it's just like, what are we doing here? But looping back around, I think we got the sound issues and the sitting issues, sleepers. We got it fixed, and Dr. Teeth is still on the show. And who knows? Maybe we'll have a little trophy. Oh yeah, my trophy. See, we got there. Because I don't think this is going to be a good part of the podcast. If you're listening right now, don't stop. I mean, you can, but like, if you could somehow lower your expectations without turning it off, I think that would probably be the best way to listen to this. Like if you're someone, and I'm like this, where I gotta watch something and not do something else. Like if I'm eating food, I'll watch something, but I try to watch something that isn't like scripted. Like I feel like I don't really watch reality, but like sports. I like watching sports because you can rewind it if you miss something. But if I'm watching like a show that's like written and it's really funny, and I'm eating, I'm just like, I'm gonna miss it. There's anxiety now. Or if I cook a steak. I can cook a steak. I cook steaks so well today. Did you know that? You just know what you knew that. If you knew that, then that's a problem. If you knew that I cooked a steak really well today, not well done, by the way, that's crazy. That like, if you want a steak overcooked, I would say I like my steak pretty well cooked. You say well done. That's like such a passive aggressive way. Maybe someone's already touched on that, to be like, you messed this up. Like, how do you want your steak? Well done. No, you probably wouldn't say it like that. You probably would be like, just well done, because it means cooked, and you would think it's good. I think that's a criticism when like, I ordered the steak medium, but it says well. Someone did a well done job. That's the cool part about being in an airport with no time, because I went to this. I was just talking about something I thought was going to go somewhere, and it will. This is so. Oh, yeah, how this isn't the part that's going to be good. Maybe I'm self-fulfilling that, because it was going to be good. I decided to get about something else. I went to Bar Louie in the Dallas airport. I haven't been to a Bar Louie in a super long time. There used to be one by my parents' house. There used to be one by a comedy club I used to work at. And I have a lot of special memories at these Bar Louie's. One of them being is like they used to have these pretzel. If you know nothing, if you take nothing away from this podcast, my nose was itchy, I swear. Know that I love pretzels, not bagged pretzels. Okay, if that's your thing, maybe in some cheese, that's in like a sharp cheddar, but like a soft pretzel that's baked, not fried, please. Salt on there. How do they keep the salt on the pretzel? That's my question of the day. Where in science did they discover how to put salt on bread and have it stick? Because, I mean, it can't just be like butter. Like, I feel like it doesn't feel baked in. It's just hanging out. It's on the top of the pretzel. And if you don't want it, you just give it a little. What substance makes that happen? What cooks? Because it's so good. Like, just, here's the thing. We're so used to eating food. Hear me out. We, as people, are used to eating food. food with like salt as an ingredient where it's like in the thing, so you don't see the salt, you taste it, or you don't taste whatever it's covering up, you know. But with a pretzel, they're like, this is such a good pretzel. We can't put it in the dough. Maybe it's a little bit in the dough, but we're just going to put it on top. And you're going to get all your salt that you need in this spot on the pretzel, right? I don't know how to mime a pretzel. This spot on the pretzel right here is going to have all the salt. And it's going to cover this whole area. And so when you take a bite out of here, enjoy the salt for this whole area right here. This is what each speck of salt has 3 centimeters circumference radius. Like, and that's what it's got to cover. Surface area, which is pi r squared. Is it? Oh, I got to look that up. I went to college and I had to major in math. And I didn't major in math. Hold on. What surface area of a circle? I was an English major, and my dad made me keep taking calculus because he said if you ever need it later, it's going to be a pain to take again. The area of a circle is pi r squared. What? No way. How? I don't know how I remembered that. That feels like I like knowing that I know that. That's pretty easy, I guess. Last week on the podcast, I feel like I was talking about a moment in college where I picked the card that was an ace of spades off the ground without knowing it. And I felt like I got that same rush right then by remembering an equation that wasn't super. I mean, you probably learned it in middle school. I don't think my college math was necessitated. Yeah, maybe. I guess that's why we do that with words, because I should have said needed there. Was needed, but I said necessitated to learn pi r squared. It's like messenger and message and the other thing. Anyways, each bit of salt covers this amount. So you got to get the salt. Maybe Jack and I will go to the zoo tomorrow. That would be fun. I think it's weird as a parent when you do something with your kid that he or she, that your child loves this thing. They want to do it all, which I don't think children really do. I don't think they love a thing. I think, at least with Jack, he gets involved in like the pattern of it and the style of it. And you know what my suspicion is? The sweets, the dessert. I think I could get my kid to do a lot of stuff with the introduction of some sort of reward program, but I'm not going to do it. I don't like it. I don't like reward. I know that parents, I'm not judging it because it probably works because my kid gets the same stuff that he would have gotten and I just don't get any of the stuff done. So I'm the idiot. I'm like the boss that pays their employees whether they come into work or not. I'm like, well, they'll do what's right. I just feel like as Jack's dad, I only get so much time in his life, and this time is the most. And I don't want to spend it on this transactional level of like, hey, and I already have, because there was one day where he loves video games. It's his favorite thing, I would say. He tells people that he loves it. I don't think that's even just a pattern thing. I think he loves it. And there was one day where he didn't put his shoes away, and he's at an age where he doesn't want to do what I say all the time. Sometimes he just wants to do what he wants to do. And I think part of it's because he kind of feels like he should have thought of it on his own, and he didn't. So it's not like he's super lazy. He's just like, it's like, I didn't think of it, so it's obviously fine. You know, it's like he's a preteen. Pretty much anybody before a teenager is a preteen when they're, being difficult. And so I was like, well, if you don't put your shoes away, and if you saw my living room, you'd be like, Michael, you have way bigger issues than these tiny 5-year-old shoes. Not super tiny. He's normal feet. But like, I have some organizational, logistical issues to deal with. But he's a kid, and I felt like I wanted his shoes away. So I was like, well, if I put the shoes away, then I don't think we're playing video games. And it was just like this thing snapped in his brain, and he does it now. He puts his shoes away. If I mention the shoes, he does it right away. And then he asks questions about the deal where it's like, well, if I put my socks away too, is that something? Or like he'll have specific question. And I don't like that because like I said, I only get so much time in his life. And I don't want it to be like, what do I have to do to make dad? Because I think that's the biggest thing. He wants to play video games, but he also they want to know they're doing the right thing. And I think by throwing down the video game thing, I was like, this isn't the right thing. And I don't want to do that. I want him to do the thing that is he wants to do because it's right. I'm recording on my phone and I didn't turn it on airplane mode. Somebody who's watching, maybe they'll watch this later and be like, that was my special. That's how I have guests on the show, is they call in and I'm like, hold on, I'm in the middle of something. I don't think I could really call them in. I think if they were on the computer, we could do it that way. But this isn't one of those shows. This isn't a guest heavy show. This isn't a guest heavy episode. Like this guy made an appearance earlier. That was the trophy super dad. So I don't have an answer, really, is what I'm trying to say. Because I don't want Jack to put his shoes away so he can play video games. I don't want to do that because that's not why I don't go to work so I can make money. I love making money at work. I go to work because I love my job and I feel this good sense of worth. Especially when it goes well, and I want to instill that into my son. Like, money is totally necessary to live and all the stuff, but it's very temporary. Like, if someone's paying you to do something, it's because you're doing it, and this is what you get out of it. So if you can find a way to get something else out of it for yourself, then you'll feel like the richest man alive. And oh, good, they left a voicemail. I'll have to check out that voicemail. One time, I just caught myself. I'm being like, now I'm just, maybe if you're listening, you're like, he's just talking now. This isn't podcasting. But I feel like there's something that has an emotion attached to it, or is about a specific thing that I care about. And I don't think I care about talking about a college show where my friend called me in the middle of it. And I still regret not answering it because it would have been really fun to randomly have a comedian call into a show that you're at. Because college shows, man, if you were in college, very loose, you know? Sometimes you go there, there's no mic. Sometimes you go there, you're in a classroom. It's a very loose environment. So if someone calls in and they can take some time off the clock for you and bounce some stuff off of it from an audience who knows who they are, kind of, like that would have been really cool. And especially if you're not planning it, that's even better. Like, I feel like you can always like schedule stuff like that to have someone randomly pop in. But it's like, it's really cool if it's random and I just didn't answer it. And I didn't want to put my friend on the spot. Anyways. What do you do about getting a child to do something without rewarding him for stuff or taking away things? I think I'm just being like, how do I be a dad without, I don't think any of the hard stuff, but like without the stuff that really, moves briskly in the moment. Like if I want my kid to put his shoes away and I want him to do it now, I just be like, take away the thing he loves most, which also feels kind of like a terrorist, It's like who really has the control of the situation? If I have to be like, oh, you're not going to do this thing I want, then you can't do the thing you love right now. I don't have an answer. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm less, because I'm definitely not a strict parent at this age. I think when he gets older, I will be, because he can sort of understand where I'm coming from, and I can tell him. And I mean, he's 5 and he understands now. But I feel like when I want him to go to bed, I know that what time I want him to go to bed. He knows what time he wants to go to bed, I feel like, or the things he wants to do beforehand. And the times I've forced him to go to bed, he just doesn't fall asleep anyway. And so I've sort of backtracked a little bit and been like, oh, maybe we could have just some fun, quieter moments before bed rather than just like me being like, this is what I said, this is what we're going to do. But I know it's important as a parent to have that authority, because I had that growing up and I feel like I grew up, really well. Look at this. I got a podcast. Anyway, I got a little off track this whole show. I meant this for this last little bit. But yeah, I was going to talk about circling back. My trophy, my favorite trophy was when I was 12. And I think I actually was 12 at this point. My birthday's at the end of June, if anybody's looking out. I'm just joking. But it is at the end of June. And so I turned 12, and we were in the championship game against the Miller Furniture Pirates. And I was on the Spice A's. Spice was like a cool place to get your shoes. And they had everything sports related. Sports like a Dick's, but Spice. And I don't know if Mr. Spice would like me comparing him to competition. And we won. We won the 12-year-old. Oh, it was 9 through 12. When I was playing Little League, it was 4 years. And I caught the last out. And that would be even more than my second place one because it was first place. So that's the best trophies I have. And I'm not going to throw them out. Taylor can do it, and also it's like, well, she's huge. So maybe that getting rid of her youthful accomplishments pushed her forward into greater success later because she wasn't. Because that's what I'm sure what I'm doing is when I'm like, oh man, I could really, if I did the right thing, I could really do some things that drew thousands of people to my shows. But every time I think about that, I'm just like, but I got second place in T-ball and first 12. So what's the point of putting in the effort, I think effort is an interesting thing. I've been watching a lot of basketball, NBA, which is kind of the only basketball you can watch right now, unless you're just at the park waiting to play or bored. That's the only option. There's no college. WNBA, I should say. There's also WNBA. Wow, WNBA has never been bigger. It's streaming on Disney Plus. What's her name? Caitlin Clark. Everyone's a fan. I don't mean to not be a fan. I just don't. I was on an airplane before the championship game between Caitlin Clark and South Carolina. Iowa, I should say Iowa. Who am I? What am I doing? No, the whole team was there, but she was their best player, 100%. And South Carolina is really good. And I had a Clippers hat on, and I was talking to these guys, and they were talking about who I wanted to win. I got to sneeze. Oh, man. Oh, man, I got to get an editor. And I was saying I didn't really like it 2 years ago how Caitlin Clark, when she did something really cool, she got in a girl's face and did this. I didn't like that at all because I don't like it when guys do that. I went to Xavier, and there was a year where Xavier was playing the rival UC, and the Xavier guy punched a guy, and it was the downfall of the season for Xavier, and Drew Brees scored a touchdown one time against the Chicago Bears, and he got off, and I'm a Bears fan for sure, but still he got off talking mad trash. I think trash is okay to talk if it's words and you're getting paid, and it's not videotaped, the whole world can't hear it. If it's in the moment, you talk about you hear about all the things that went on in the 90s with Jordan and all the players that could really talk really, a lot of trash. But when it's that public and the other person isn't getting paid, and that's what Caitlin Clark had the thing happen. Everyone, I just didn't care about it. But where she got in a girl's face and did this, I don't even see you or something. I didn't like that. But she's obviously really good, and yeah, she's changed WNBA. But I'm talking about specifically NBA because I don't watch enough WNBA to know. But in basketball, I think it's crazy in basketball anyway. No matter what you watch, even college, boys or girls, whatever, how they say that they're playing lazy right now. Announcers will say that very clearly in the middle of a game where people have been running up and down a court, sprinting, diving, jumping, and they're saying that's lazy defense because they didn't have their hand up. Maybe they didn't have their hand up because their heart is going through something they've never gone through before because they worked out for 12 months leading up to this, but this is the hardest they've ever been pushed in their entire life. Maybe that's why they didn't close out like they teach you in the Tom Amansky basketball version. Tom Amansky used to have these videos that taught you how to play baseball, and there was one of those commercials that were kind of bad. I don't know if there was a basketball version of that, but I just imagine. something like that. And that's a big announcer thing. Like that's lazy defense. And I don't think people should say that about athletes who are clearly like killing themselves just by playing the game. Like if you went out and played basketball with your friends and you played it kind of like low key, like half going at it, you're still not being lazy, right? Maybe you could just say undisciplined. How about that? That's my idea. That was something I put on the list, and I kind of eased into it to see if anybody would notice, because I still have some stuff to get back to. What did we cover so far? So my favorite trophy. Taylor gets rid of her trophies, according to a tweet, and she's doing really good. So maybe that could change your life. There was something early on that I talked about. If anybody thinks about something that they want me to get back to later, I accept all suggestions. We got a packed show the rest of the show and next week, but we can fit it in, I'm sure. I also let me know anything. I feel like this setup is going really well. What do you guys think? So, yeah, I don't like it when people like get in people's faces. Taunt. I think that's the word. Not talking trash. Taunting. I feel like talking trash is like we're playing. No one's won anything yet. No one's dominated yet. You're just talking to get in the other person's head. I feel like taunting's where I just destroyed you that everybody can see, and then I get in your face and I do something extra, which you can't even do in the NFL anymore. I don't think, or in the NBA. You can't do something awesome and then stand over someone and be like, I just destroyed you right now, because it's really instigating violence. That's what it would be on my end. If someone did that to me, I've never, really been playing a sport and wanted to punch somebody, but I could see somebody wanting to punch somebody if somebody was taunting them really bad after that. And I don't think it's fair to do that, to beat somebody and then also taunt them, and then that person gets in trouble for trying to fight you. I think that's not fair. And that's what this podcast was about just now. What is fair? I went to the doctor 2 weeks ago. This was on the list for last week, but we didn't need it. Well, looking back, I think we might have needed it. But here's what I love about going to the doctor. I don't know if you've ever gone to the doctor. Of course you have. But as a parent of like a 0 to 5-year-old, you go to the doctor a lot. Not for you. Not for you. It's not for you. You're taking the kid to the doctor because they go out into the world and their body sees the world and they're like, germs, you're cool to hang out with. Get in here. Come on. You're part of the family now. What? You're on a slide at recess? Get in my body. Oh, I dropped this bagel on the floor. What can I put in my body? What? I'm going to touch everything and then touch my eyes, my nose, and my mouth. That's how kids get sick, I think. So you go to the doctor a lot because also when kids live, they live hard. Like babies, I don't know if you know this about babies, their heart is beating very fast and is normal. But I didn't really know that, like you hear it and you're like, oh, okay, they're sleeping and they're like racing through life. And it's like, okay, I hope everything's okay in there. You okay? And then like kids, they get sick. Their fevers are like ridiculous. Their fevers are like radio stations of the hits, like 103s, right? Like no NPRs, no 88s. That would probably be bad too. They'd be cold and dead. Not dead. Let's not talk about it. Come on. But they get fevers, man, and they just get sick. So you're not constantly, but that my relationship with a doctor has been through my son's doctor. And like just not like just getting stuff for me, but just like you're in the doctor's office as a parent and you take him there and you're like, yeah, this is the thing, and you remember all the stuff and then come back however much and then like you got to talk about with both parents, like what do we think? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? Especially nowadays there's so much medicine out there. And it's all, and then he has he's like, oh, I don't like this Tylenol. Just today, he's like, I don't like bubblegum Tylenol. No. I like cherry Tylenol. Oh, okay. That's good to know. Good, because he will put up like quite a fight, But cherry Tylenol is like that. He took his cherry Tylenol today that in a way that made me a little worried. I'm like, I gotta put this up high. That's how he shot that cherry Tylenol. He was just like, he was sipping it. Like my I didn't know at the time, but like I didn't really know what shots were, but like I had family members that were old, like my grandpa would have like a like I would have like drink, but like it would never be like shot. It would like they'd sip their hard alcohol at like family occasions, and I was just like, well, as an adult, I'm like, how do they? And this is what he was like sipping this Tylenol, and I'm just like, it was like very not elegant, but just like, oh yeah, this was. He's like, I like this is better than the meal. It felt like I gotta put that. That's how good this cherry Tylenol was. Which, by the way, Tylenol, now that we're calling out people, on the box of Tylenol, one of their credits, as a comedian, you have credits. You get to be on The Tonight Show or whatever. You get to say that. Tylenol's credit is recommended by moms everywhere. Like, what about dads? Are we just stupid? Like, oh, you got a fever? Let's play tag. Let's run around. Like, you can't. I think you can't work out. I don't think you should work out with a fever. You got a fever? Ice cream all day. Milk, 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 milk. Cheese. Dairy's not good for being sick. From what I've heard, it's good to have like whatever, a lot of liquids. Tylenol. I'm a dad, and I think Tylenol's good too. Why does it have to be a mom? Why does your audience have to be like? Why do you have to cater to this thing of like? Moms. I posted, I didn't even post it, but I have a video about how hard it is to be a parent, but it's like a joke, but real. And like some of the comments were like, he's a dad, it's harder to be a mom. No, it's both. Depending upon if it's harder to be a mom than a dad in your relationship, I totally buy that and I respect it. And I respect also that might not have been something that you sign up for, and maybe the other person in your life has some adjustments to make, and then that's not cool. But I can't speak for the other person in this child rearing situation, but I know that I spend a lot of time and taking care of my son when he's sick, healthy, all the moments. This is what I love so far about being a dad. 0 to 5. This is my favorite thing. Today was day 1 of no school, really. Like, he can go there if we have to work or something, but like it's not school. He doesn't have to go. And he was not feeling well. So he stayed home. And I love that because he's not in any activities yet. He has no schedule. And my whole schedule is like, what do you want to do? And he has ideas. That's what I love about hanging out with a kid. Like, if you have a friend, like an adult that has like, maybe as an adult, you just have certain things to take into consideration. Like, how much does it cost? What time are we going to get back? How are we going to get there? As a kid, like today, he was like, I want to ride my big wheel to Snickers. Okay. One of those things isn't even a thing. That's Baskin Robbins. He thinks Baskin Robbins is called Snickers. I've kind of perpetuated that because I think it's cute. Which he knows. No, I don't know. The first time we went to Baskin Robbins, he had Snickers ice cream, and he's just like, this place is called Snickers because it was, I think, so good. That he had to have it, I guess. He just called it Snickers. So he wants to ride his big wheel. And I know that Snickers is not a big wheel. It's not in the radius of riding his big wheel. But I'm like, all right, it's your idea to get on your big wheel and ride through the sunshine and not be around other kids with your little cold thing. Yeah, we're going to do that because it wasn't a fever at the time. Maybe that's what got me the long big wheel ride. But live and learn, right? It's way easier to say that when it's someone else's health. He's fine. He's doing great. But if you are a doctor, chime in. No, he is a doctor. So we took a big wheel to Snickers, and he doesn't know how to steer. Like, I was mentioning the scooter in the airport, and the first time he rode it, he would just ride into things. And the good part about that is like the suitcase is in the front of the scooter, so it kind of like cushioned the impact. Or like I would stop it if he looked like, it's not like I'm like, well, he's got to learn. No, I would control it too. But I was like, I don't know if he's ever going to learn how to drive the scooter because I was making sure he didn't run into old people, basically. But he did. The last time we did the scooter at the airport, he like controlled it really well. And it was pretty successful, except on the flight back, he didn't want to ride it, but we still didn't check it. So now I'm just lugging this through the airport, which I wouldn't do because we don't need the extra suitcase. I could put it all in anyways. I'm glad we have the scooter now. But he has a big wheel. He doesn't really know how to drive the big wheel. So he's just like going off the road a lot. So I'm like kind of controlling it, running next to him, which I don't remember doing as a kid. I don't remember my dad helping me control a big wheel, but also we lived in the suburbs. There's a lot of space. I could probably ride off anywhere and be fine. Also, I ran into a telephone pole on my bike, so I don't think my parents were really like worried. I mean, I think they were worried and they were careful, but I literally rode my bike. I think like I skipped 6 stories here. When I was learning how to ride a bike, my mom said that I was having trouble with it. Big wheels were great. I could do big wheels just fine. We had a big driveway. I do the big wheel, but they're not as fast as bikes. They're pretty cool, but they're not as fast as bikes. And so we got a bike, and I was learning how to ride it. And it was taking some time because I'm a middle child. You know, I feel like olders or youngers can be better at that stuff because they just, you know, they see it or they just believe they can do anything. But I was like really, you know, not feeling it. And so then my mom, like my dad would like run behind me and have my hand on the seat the whole time. And that was fine. That was fun. And he got to work out. I remember him making eye contact with another like dad or something. And my dad just being like, yeah, this is what we got. Like he was happy to do it, but it was like the other dad was like, you got to let that kid go. But I wouldn't ride it. And he made sure his hand was on the back. It was a great dad. But my mom was like, had heard that if you learn to ride your bike in the grass, then if you fall, then you won't get hurt. That was the theory of the moms in suburban Buffalo, New York, or the ones that she had talked to, which is a good theory. No one's shooting down the theory because all the things are true. First off, you're not going to get hurt. If there's grass, you're not going to get hurt if you fall. Secondly, that's how you learn is by falling. But the thing that I don't think we think about is that like it's hard to ride your bike on the grass. You know, it's hard to get going, right? Go outside right now. Don't do that. Keep listening. Or if you know what, if you really want to, it's probably better to get that exercise. But if you haven't ridden your bike on the grass lately, it's not super fun. And one of the main reasons you learn to do something as a kid is because it's fun. You can't go fast on a bike on the grass. Like our yard had hills. And so I was like, the only way this is going to be fun is to go down the hill. And so I went down the front hill and I was just going down and it was fun. And I was heading towards this light pole, like this street light pole. And I remember my dad standing there and he saw the whole thing. I was just riding the bike down the hill and I went right into the light pole. Until I became a dad, I was like, why didn't he do anything? And now as a dad, Jack's definitely run into stuff that I've seen him run into, that I've been almost close enough to stop him. And I was just like, there's no way he's just going to run into that tree. Oh, okay. He did run into that tree. Let's hope he doesn't remember that. There was one time when Jack was probably like 3 where he was running away from me as a joke and fun and like looking back because they don't know as kids that there's other parts of the world that's not going to let them run anymore. And he just ran right into a tree. And because I didn't put myself in his brain of like, I'm just running. And then from then on, I sort of like made sure they didn't run into a tree. And so I rode my bike right into the telephone pole, right into it. And I flew off of it and I went back to big wheels for a little while. So anyway, I love going to the doctor as an adult because I get to go. Like I went by myself. My kid was in preschool at the time. And I felt like sometimes I feel like you can get sort of like, oh, I'm not healthy, this isn't good or whatever. But I felt so happy to have someone that it was their whole job to like run tests. It was like a checkup, so it wasn't like I'm not feeling good. To like run all these tests and to talk to me and to smile and to be like, are you okay? That's literally something doctors have to do. They have to look at you. It's called like depression screening or something, where they're like, have you been feeling sad at all for long periods of time? And then you get to be like, now that I think of it, no. You know? Like, I feel like sometimes you go through your day or weeks or months and you're like, maybe I have been sad too much. But then you're like, not really. One time I had a doctor who asked me if there's been long periods of time where I felt sad. And I was like, no. And then later on in the appointment, he asked the exact same question. He's like, has there been times? And I didn't know if he just forgot that he asked the question already, or if he was trying to be like, this is where I can get you drugs, you know? And I don't know when it was. Man, I feel like this stuff should have been at the beginning of the podcast, because I feel like this is like better stories. And people might have tuned out already. But maybe I'll mention that in the promotion of it. I'll mention that to my promo team, that you want to see my promo team? Super No, that maybe people should start watching, listening later, because it gets better. But it's so nice as an adult to go in without like a big thing, not even, and then the run tests, and they take the blood hurts a little bit. I didn't, because Jack hates needles, you know, because he's a kid. Like, I think it's weird that if you think about it, that as parents, we tell kids like, hey, needles. We try to get them to take their stuff, you know, they're taking blood, or if they have to get a shot for something, we're like, hey, it's okay. It's just going to pinch. It's going to pinch. We try to talk them into needles. And when it's really like, no, it's kind of good. They don't like needles, because you want them to not like needles. Needles aren't, you don't want kids being like, what are you doing with that needle, you know? So they took my blood, and I was like, oh, but it was in there for a long, they took a lot from my feeling, and I was like, this is I'm going through a real thing now, you know? I really went to the doc. I'm leaving lighter. I told Jack, because he saw that I had a Band-Aid on. He's like, what's that? I'm like, well, they took blood. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? Like, he didn't know where I was going to get more blood. And I was like, well, your body makes more. Like, I didn't. And so I realize, he doesn't know that your body gets more blood. That's probably why kids freak out so much when they cut their knee. Like, this is all the blood I have. Put it back in. Put it back in. He didn't. This podcast really took off like about 10 minutes ago, I feel like. But maybe it didn't. Maybe it was, I feel like I can feel it. I feel like when I feel it, I can feel it. So he was like, where'd the blood go? And I was like, no, it'll grow more. He's like, what? Your body can make blood? And I'm like, yeah. And I didn't want to hit on it too much, because I didn't want him just like being like, I'll make more blood, and just cutting stuff, which he wouldn't, because he hates how it feels, which is good too. It's good if your child doesn't love pain, I think. And then I got to leave the doctor's office, and everything in the moment, they hadn't like run all their tests yet or whatever, but was fine. And then they told me it was going to be covered. And I don't know. I don't know if my insurance is different, but I just thought like I would go to the doctor and pay a copay and that's it. But now they're like sending me like insurance is covered. This isn't for you guys. You don't have to like, I should call my insurance company. This isn't how I'm going to communicate with my insurance company. Hey, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Yeah. So did you get my podcast? All right. This has been the podcast. I'm Michael Palisak, episode 13. I appreciate all of you. Thank you, sleepers. I'll see you next week. It always feels like a week isn't too long. And then when it comes to doing the podcast, I'm like, it's been a long time. So next week it's going to be episode 14. So that's something to look forward to. All right. Thank you. And the end.